Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Camera how?
Camera how?
Did you notice I had a phrase on Facebook yesterday for National Gaelic Say a Phrase Day?
I made a comment about it.
Yes, Joy Dunlop helped me out. She sent me a wee recording. And guess what?
I said...
I can't even remember how to say it already.
No. And I said to you, that's you butchering two languages.
And I thought, why is he talking about mince and tatties? I had no idea what was going on at all. Anyway, listen, folks, so lovely to see so many people join us tonight. That was a record number right at the beginning of the show there, I think. It's pretty enormous.
Getting there,
lots of people. Please share the show about, folks. It'd be absolutely fantastic if you can. And let's keep your comments coming in. It's fantastic. Let us know where you are, because it's really, really nice
for
the guests and for us to see where you are.
It is. Yeah.
We've got some fantastic guests on for you tonight. We've got Robin Deryn Waitt, collectively known as the Bonaccords, two box players on for the first half. That's going to be great fun. And the second half, we've got that King of Folk Music and ex-Battlefield band Alan Reid joining us for the second half. And believe me, there's some cracking videos there for Alan as well, right away back to the beginning. So it's pretty good. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. So it's going to be a great show. Hit the share button for us, folks, and keep that comments coming in. Let us know where you are. Tonight we're going out live on Music from Scotland, Tartan Tunes, Tunes in the Hoose. I think we're on Tunes in the Hoose.
We are.
Are we? Okay. And then we're, because there was one of them had to reset something, I can't remember if it did. What?
Music from Scotland.
Yes, I said Music from Scotland.
Scotland Online.
Scotland Online. Tartan Tunes YouTube and Tartan Tunes Twitter. Woo! And Peterwood Music.
Peterwood Music.
we're on loads. We're on loads tonight. So join about. Listen, here's a wee set of tunes that I recorded a couple of weeks ago in the new wee Alexandrina Kelt box. I feel like this wee accordion.
Another accordion.
Well, it's Tom Cruikshank brought me this one up for a try of. So if you'd like something like this, there's a beauty in cherry wood. It's a wee beauty. So here's starting off with the Boys of Blue Hill. I was about to say Joy Dunlop's jig, but it's not Joy Dunlop's jig. Somebody Dunlop's jig. Don't know. And then the last one's the Inside Out Fish Eater. I shouldn't have wrote myself. So hopefully this will get your feet tapping, folks. Keep sharing this show. What brilliant you can enjoy us. That's magic. Woo! Fantastic.
Frozen. Frozen.
Great fun playing on that stuff.
Can you move a bit forward, a bit towards the camera a bit?
Why?
I see the mark on your face is cleared up.
What mark?
The one that where Karen slapped you for playing on the table with your drumsticks.
I wasn't. I was playing on the room of the drum.
The room. So, a couple of things before we get going.
Yes.
All I have to say is Super Sainties to you, Peter.
Super what?
Super Sainties.
What? Oh. Yeah, the Harps got a doing for the St. John's stuff, didn't they?
They did. The other thing I've got to say to you is Can't remember.
Right.
That's it.
Do you know that St Johnstone goes back quite a bit? I used to pal about with Gary West when we were at uni in Edinburgh. Right. And one day he didn't have a car, so we've known each other for years. And his flatmates were great St Johnstone fans as well. So I piled up and took them up to Muirfield Park, I think it was. And it was the last
Muirton Park.
Muirton. It was the last game there, apparently, before they moved to the new place. So we can always remember that. We didn't have any pipes with us. It would have been better fun if we did some pipes with us as well. That was good.
Muirton Park is now in Asda.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, well.
How has your week been with the whole COVID thing?
My week's got better and better as we went on. It wasn't very good about the middle of the week, but it's getting better.
No.
So we're doing that. So back to work tomorrow.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And what about Amy? How's your little girl doing in hospital?
She's doing grand. Yep, she's doing grand.
Yeah.
Another few weeks. She's 2 kilos. She's 5 pounds now. 5 1.
She's growing all the time, man.
She is. Yeah. So just kind of a waiting game now, to be honest with you.
Good.
I've been involved in the pipe band scores launch this week.
You told me about that,
which is pretty cool. Yep, it's a new kind of platform for pipe band and pipe and music and things like that, where you can purchase individual scores and you can hear samples and lots of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Well, it's a really good
Wednesday.
It's a brilliant thing because sometimes you can even get the absolute expert players, but they're no, say, very up on harmonising or anything like that, or different arranging stuff. So if you can give a lower grade band that chance to play that stuff, they'll probably play it, and it's going to help bring the standard up, Cool. Right.
Exactly what we need.
I think we'll bring our first guests on because they were looking very comfortable in this wee sound check we done. In fact, Robin sat in the dog, I think, actually. They were so hopefully the dog's still there. So how's we bring on two very fine folks and very fine accordion players, Robin and Deryn Waitt. Hello, you guys. Hello.
Hello. Hiya.
How are you? So you all right?
Yeah, sheltering from the storm as it's another windy, wet day.
Can you just kind of believe that? It's flat calm up here in Shetland again. It has been for about the last 3 days.
I know you've been sheltering underneath all them trees.
Well, it's really strange because we've been looking at the weather and everybody getting battered away to bits down south, and that's the total opposite. It's usually us that's getting battered and things. So, how are you both? Are you both doing fine?
Yeah, disgustingly well, yes.
Good. That's excellent. Still managing to get a little tune in here and there?
Very little, but we've been out this afternoon. We played for a little tea dance in the local village hall, and we entertained quite a lot of the dancers. Had posties, jigs, and Black Mountain reels, and
all that stuff. And I mean, we're going to talk about it as we go through. But you run weekends as well, where folk all come along and go dancing for the weekend, and musicians turn up, and all these things. But we'll speak about that as we go through the night. Let's have a wee tune to begin with. This is some tunes that you got. Was this at Lockerbie Club? Did you?
Langham Social. We went along. We invited a few of our friends that were feeling a bit raw after the first lockdown, and we just set up. We weren't allowed to sing, masks and all the COVID regulations. So we just set a camera up, played for a couple of hours, and this is a wee clip of what we did.
We've got some. Well, here is this 3/4. Can you remember the name of this 3/4 march?
Not at all.
First one's Mull, something about Mull. Icy
Mull. And it's sometimes the same tune as sometimes called Land of My Youth.
Oh, is it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Same tune, yeah.
Well,
I don't know
we
why.
love Mull, so...
you love Mull. So here we go. We'll just go for it and have a wee listen to these, and we're going to talk about the different accordions you play and all these sorts of things after it. That'll be great. Here we go.
Here we go.
Well done, folks. Lovely. That's really nice to hear a couple of 3-4 matches. The second and third one I'd never really heard much before.
Yeah.
He's just saying he was reaching for his pint of beer. That was a bad look, wasn't it?
Pint of water.
Yes, definitely.
That's lovely to hear. Lovely to hear a couple of 3/4s there. The second one, the third one, really quite new to me. I hadn't heard these ones.
There's an Ian Holmes one there.
I think it's one. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, have you always been in the area that you live in now? Were you brought up in that area then?
Well, we've only been here for how long have we been married? 49 years.
Only 49 years.
I was brought up down by Carlisle and served an apprenticeship, and Deryn was Longtown and Lockerbie, and you can speak.
Yeah, so we've been here long enough. My ambition was, my dad was from Lockerbie, and my ambition was to live in a cottage in the country across the border in Scotland and breed dogs. And I've achieved 2 out of 3. I don't breed dogs because I wouldn't part with them.
But listen, folks, as well, out there, keep the comments coming in. There's loads of comments coming in here, and there's loads of folks. There's an awful lot of people really, really enjoyed that sound and the boxes playing together and things. It's really good. So most of your work, though, you would you say it was in the borders of Scotland, really? A lot of your work you were playing, but you used to play right down into England and things quite a bit as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We were Yorkshire and just wherever, you know. And we did a lot of tours with Irish shows right down the country, and but now it's locally.
Yeah, because one thing, and it's unfortunate, but just it's what videos we had tonight. But Deryn, you sing as well, and sing an awful lot of the Irish stuff and that, and it's really lovely. But maybe some other night we'll talk you into coming on and singing some songs for us as well.
Yeah, that's what I love doing, actually, the Irish songs.
Yeah.
We've been so busy. We've been a kind of middle of the road, not just a Scotty band, but we've done Irish country, Irish quick steps. We followed Brendan Shine, Dermot O'Brien, Daniel O'Donnell, Margot. So
I think that's the thing. You'll pick up much more work if you can do a bit of everything, can't you?
I think so. Yeah.
And we did residencies, holiday camps, and
But you know, as I was growing up on the borders of Scotland, I never saw that side of you doing the singing and the cabaret stuff, because whenever I saw you were at an accordion club usually. So you usually go up and just played a few sets of tunes like everybody else. So I was quite unaware till much later in life that you were doing all that kind of stuff as well.
Well, we never ever talked about it, but accordion clubs, we always support them. We
absolutely.
Just to keep it going and keep the music going.
There's a wee club, Gretna Accordion and Fiddle Club, and we run it with a couple of the committee, and it's been one of the most popular clubs in the south of Scotland. Yeah.
We'll come back to that because I'm going to speak to you about that after this track, actually. Here's a couple of waltzes. The first one's Dat Loch na Gar. Can you remember what you played after it?
Annie Laurie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Dat Loch na Gar. I actually saw Dat Loch na Gar for the first time, Davey, that day you came to pick me up.
Say again?
I saw Loch na Gar that day you picked me up and took me over to the D-side. I'd never seen, would you believe, I'd never seen that before, so it was nice to see Loch na Gar at last. Here's a couple of waltzes, folks. Keep sharing. You're going to love them. Keep the comments coming in. Let us know where you are. It's fantastic. Great stuff, guys. You can't beat, can you, that good old strong, real melodies. There's something about it. It's fantastic. What I was going to say, and I forgot to say in the last wee bit there, was the types of accordions you're playing. Darren, you're playing a piano accordion.
Yeah, Fantini. My Fantini.
A Fantini. And Robin, you're playing a 3-row button box.
Yeah, it's one of the very few black ones. There's a few around, but they're very sought after. And this was
the San Marino, isn't it?
San Marino.
Yeah.
It was a great dear friend of ours, became a good friend of mine, Toby Stewart, and he shadowed Will Starr around the theatre. And he could equal Will Starr in talent. He was a beautiful player, and we lost him. So I was lucky to be able to buy this accordion, and I always think of great friend Toby Stewart.
It was just by coincidence earlier on when we were speaking to Alan Reid off air before we came on tonight, and we were talking about the accordion, and I said something about playing the pipes, and he said, "Oh, is that why you play quite a lot of pipe tunes in the box?" And obviously I do like playing a lot of pipe tunes in the box, but see the 3-row box that you're playing, it's even more suited, I think, still for playing pipe tunes, isn't it? I think it's just the mechanism of the thing. It makes it, the in-out bit seems to work well, like the grace notes and things, you know.
Yeah, what the Highland Country Band could get a good pipey sound out of the. It's within your heart, isn't it? And,
So Carlisle Accordion Club. That's the one you've been involved with recently, and you've managed to get it up and going, on the go again. Gretna, sorry. Gretna. Because Gretna used to have a club many years ago, didn't it? Did it stop then and then start again? No?
Carlisle?
No, Gretna.
Oh, Gretna.
Oh, Gretna, yeah.
Gretna is the second oldest club in the country.
So it's continuously ran, has it? Yeah.
On the back of the hole in the wall.
Okay.
And, David Bell was at the hole in the wall, and he decided that's a good idea to do something, so he started it with his committee. It's been in 2 or 3 different venues, such as Penton, Annie Jane's, the Corner House Jig, that was the one practice, Brampton. They called it the North Cumbria Club, but this is a continuation, non-stop, of 55 years, I think.
Well, there's somebody saying there's not a better night than the Gilnockie Burns Club with Robin. There you go, Robert says. But
as an organiser, and she could organise in a brewery.
Very well put.
I would love the chance.
Because I think the last time I played at Gretna Accordion Club, it was in the Halcrow Stadium, I think, at the time. And that Halcrow Stadium, it was actually called after Jim Halcrow from Shetland, the accordion player. I think that was the last time I played at that one. So, so did you find yourself playing for a lot of? You mentioned earlier on the afternoon dances and tea dances. Did you do quite a lot of that stuff as well?
Yeah, we do. I think a lot of people now, the elderly people prefer the afternoons to going out at night. So we started a wee one academy just to get people back into dancing after the COVID thing. And it's proven pretty popular, You're
right. The afternoon thing seems to have caught on with quite a lot of accordion fiddle clubs as well, isn't it?
Yeah, we do Gretna for that reason, afternoon. Yeah. And we're lucky we get about 70 people anyway. So it's proven to be the right thing,
brilliant, yeah. I suppose if somebody gets one too many drinks on a Sunday afternoon as well, they've got that wee while longer to recover before Monday morning.
We've no bar in our club.
That's it. Listen, let's have all these tunes. We're starting off with Dr. Morrison's Seven Thistles, the Scott Skinner tune here. I love this tune. It's one of my favourite 4/4 maxes. And it always makes me think of... I remember Paul Anderson, the fiddle player, telling me one night that Skinner was known for... He didn't tolerate fools or anything very easily, and he had quite a high thoughts of himself as well. apparently. And I remember his pink book that he brought out said, "Talent does what it can, genius does what it must." Thought, oh, well, what's that then?
These tunes, Peter, remind me of my all-time favourite accordion player.
Yeah.
Well,
Peter Wood.
No,
Bobby Crow. I've got two. Oh. Bobby Crow, Scottish. I just loved that man's playing. Before I even an accordion, loved him. Yeah.
Remember when Bobby Crow and Angus Fitchett used to go round the clubs together? The two. What a carry on that was! But brilliant playing, absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic.
But,
huge lift.
He played at our wedding, you know, Bobby Crow.
There's
at our wedding.
All right, okay.
Yes.
There was a.
Okay, it's only missed one.
It's a booking. It's a booking. You better get it in this day and age. It's a booking. Here's a wee set of 4/4 marches. Take them away. Absolutely super, guys. Fantastic. Aye. Hey, that's Edgefield House, the second one, isn't it?
Edgefield House. Yeah.
Brilliant tune. Brilliant tune. I remember when you're talking about Bobby Crow there was a record many years ago made in the hole in the wall, Max Hulison's place.
Oh, yeah. We were there.
And Bobby Crow was a solo guest on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he played Edgefield House.
He did.
That was before middies and backing, and Bobby just strapped the box on and played. What a genius.
How's that changed for you guys over the years? I mean, when you started away, obviously you've worked as a duo most of the time, haven't you?
We took a drummer, and we had a really good, a big band drummer, and he used the whole kit, and it was fantastic. Right. And then eventually, as the work progressed, and Sid took retirement, we went to a two-piece, and we used the MIDI back and the MIDI bass and a bit of percussion. And even on the Shanmarino, I do a little bit of flutes and pianos and various things, fill-ins. So, yeah, as a duo, you can do a huge sound.
Yeah. I mean, MIDI has changed the ball game completely, didn't it? Because up until that point, we had the one or two things. You had the electronic accordion that weighed a ton that you could carry about, and then, or you could get what we used to call it power bass or something.
Yeah.
And it made made this bottom end sound that doesn't sound anything like a bass at all, really, when you think about it. But
I can go back when Andrew Rankin used to come around the Penton area. He was often here, a little before my time, but I did meet Andrew, and his early Cordovox recordings, that just a breath of fresh air. It was brand new, beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andrew done an awful lot with the Cordovox, didn't he? I mean, he really was one of the folk that brought it forward.
And another, he was very versatile because he went into the beer cellars in the northeast, and he played all the German umpa music, and the Cordovox lent itself to that.
Yeah, but it was good money in these days, wasn't it? Playing that scene and things like that. It was
I believe so. It never came my way.
That's very good. Can you tell me how come the button box then? How did you pick up in the button box? How did that happen?
My dad was a farm worker, and there was always a two-row melodeon in the bothies, and when he was growing up, and probably his dad maybe so he tootled about on the two-row, and of course Jimmy Shand was down here 2 or 3 times a year, and my mum and dad and the friends and neighbours, they were all dancers. So the laddie's good to learn an accordion. So Jimmy Shand would supply the accordion. It was a trichord 3. And he would always take me to one side. Now, laddie, if I was you, I would do it this way or that way or the other way. And, a few little words of advice. And, I was chuffed to bits.
Yeah, absolutely. Because was Jimmy at that point in time, Jimmy Shand was working as a sales rep for Forbes, wasn't he, in Dundee or something? Yeah, that was a good number for him because he was going about managing to sell all these accordions.
Or as we call it now, the tail end.
Is that right? Is that what it is now?
Yeah.
What is the tail end of pub or something?
No, chippy.
Really?
Yeah.
So Forbes Music in Dundee is now a chippy?
Yeah. Well, the Deep Sea is, but which is next door. But it's the same building.
Gee whiz.
Good fish supper, though. Really good fish supper.
Can you remember, folks, the days when we used to take you used to get a booking over the telephone line? No mobile phones, no nothing. And you had a diary and you wrote it in it. And then the folk maybe, if they were being nice, phoned you about 3 days before it to make sure you were still coming.
To remind you.
Well, we never ever took bookings when we were out. We would say, okay, that'll be fine, but you must vote at home. The diary's at home. We had one diary and it was at home, so,
And then the other thing about it was the fish and chip shops and all that had a very, very important part in getting to the right venue. Because if you were in a city situation, they used to say things like, go up Victoria Street and you'll see the Blue Dolphin Chippy on the left-hand side. Take a left there and then go along that road and then you'll see that's how there's an Indian, there's a bro Indian there, and then turn left and you always got there. You always get there somehow.
I don't disagree, Peter, but it's more go down to the Queen's Head and turn left at the King's Arms.
And now it's some sat-nav thing that doesn't know where it's going.
Yeah.
But it's been brought.
We've been at some village halls in different places.
Great nights.
Yeah.
We're going to...
David Bell in the Line Valley, he did the right thing, or his wife did the right thing. They started a journal as to all the players that played with them and all the village halls we've been in. So that journal with Charlie Todd at the moment and being made public, we've forgotten more than we remember.
Yeah,
I remember.
Davey, what were you wanting to say there?
I was going to say, I'm just looking at the next track. The next track's a traditional Scottish melody, but I'm quite looking forward to hearing. Yeah. But what we can do is we can play it and see if folk can guess what it is.
Yeah, and it's not Fly Me to the Noon.
No, it's not.
Gotcha.
No, it's not.
So,
yeah.
This is some of the modern sequence that we do.
Okay.
No clues.
Here we go. What are you going to say, Peter?
No, I'm going to speak about costumes in a wee while after that, because there was a funny photo come up the other day, but I'm going to speak about it.
Here we go.
Good stuff, folks. Do you find
I've just done? Sorry to interrupt you. I've just done some research. That melody, because it's not the song. That melody was written in 1861.
Really?
By I'm saying nothing. No, it's an American Civil War song.
Oh,
called Orally. Yeah.
Where did you find that?
It's called the internet, Peter. It knows things.
It doesn't always tell you the truth, though.
It's called Wikipedia, Peter. It knows things.
You just add bits on.
Yeah. So, as you said,
we have.
I was just when you were talking about that, mind you, the picture that turned up of you guys the other day, looking very glitzy in your on-stage attire.
Oh yeah.
But do you not think in the olden, I'm saying the olden days, but I'm saying days when I was even younger, and that people did make an awful lot more, effort with what they wore and things like that.
We did. it was something I was very keen on. You know, it shows respect for your audience, and we were doing a lot of shows, and we had to dress well anyway. Yeah. And the funny thing is, we had the guy that made all our outfits. He used to make me cat suits. I mean, I was skinny then. He used to make me cat suits that fitted exactly, but I never met him. And he never met me.
I thought you used to make me cat suits that Robin wore. I thought that's what you were going to say there.
Yeah, well, I used to try and get into them, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, the Irish show bands, they always dressed to the utmost. Dermot O'Brien always had outfits, the three of them, the trio, Derek and Johnny. And we just watched and learned.
So do you think that Irish scene was a big part of your education in music then? That was something that you liked?
Definitely. Absolutely. We used to, my favourite venue of all time is Newcastle Irish Centre.
Okay.
And it was just Irish all-night songs, and we used to do St. Patrick's Day there because we knew sometimes more Irish songs than anybody, you know. But we loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Darren's lucky. We had a crib sheet of songs that we could do at the drop of a hat without music or rehearsal. I think we lost count over 1,000.
Oh, God.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, that is true.
We would go into a venue and we would talk to the audience and, what's your favourite song? And somebody would come up with something way, and she would say, give us a minute, and then she would do it.
Wow.
I just have
that's incredible. I mean, that's a lot of words. 1,000 songs is a lot of words.
It is.
No, that's not true. 1,000 songs have the same words in it. It's different order.
Well, we did a holiday camp at one stage, and obviously we were there every weekend,
Sundays,
every Sunday, and there was not only a visiting caravanners but static owners. So you had the same people in every week. So obviously, we had to do different stuff every week. So I learned songs every week of my life. And just got into the way of it. And I'm just lucky that I can remember. If I haven't done a song for 25 years, it comes into my head. Yeah. And if it comes into my head, I know I'll do it. And I just do it.
Brilliant.
Impressive.
Yeah. Tell me, for recordings and CDs and things, you do have CDs out. How many CDs have you got for sale just now? There's a couple, anyway.
So we have a couple current. We even have an LP.
With what?
Remember the LPs, the great big 12 inches?
Oh yeah. Couple of frisbees.
Aye.
That was in the olden days.
This is the latest one from the Derek Hamilton studio, and we're very proud of it. Derek did as well. It's called All Over the Place. A selection, a couple of songs, but mostly jigs and reels. And the Bonaccords favourites, that's a lot of Irish quick steps and waltzes and a few Scotties. Just a general. That's the current ones at the moment.
Fantastic. So the best way for our audience out there all over the world to try and get a hold of you to get this is the best way to message you on Facebook or something. Is that the easiest way?
Or you can give me email address. It's all lowercase ROBINWAITT@AOL.com.
There we go. Watch the Speedy Davy here, Robin. Watch this come up on the screen. Look at that.
Well, that's it. ITT. That's the order spelling. Yeah.
Is that the right spelling?
Aye.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. If you would like to get in touch with Robin or Dan about a CD or both CDs, I'm sure they'd be absolutely delighted to put them in the post to you if you pay them for them.
Absolutely.
And they don't mind sending them all over the world. Did you notice we even had some audience in from Russia earlier on their night news?
All that.
That was great. There's people from all over the place. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
We're used to people from Russia because there's managed the shout of something off. Oh.
There was thingy saying that I see Graham Wilson was on just now. They're saying both the CDs are fantastic. So.
Oh, good. Well done, Graham.
Graham's a good lad. Right, we've got one more set here to have a wee listen to tonight for you guys. We've got Hoover's Jig. Now, Hoover's Jig, the first tune here, of course, is Peter's Peary Boat. That was composed by Tom Anderson for Peter Leith, who was Yarrow 1 year up in Shetland. And after that, I can't remember what order, but I think you're Over the Sea and various tunes like that in amongst it somewhere. Oh. So let's have a wee listen to Hoover's Jig. And keep sharing, folks, keep sharing this about. It's gone amazing tonight. The numbers have been fantastic.
1, 2.
Somebody just done that ho right at the exact spot at the end there. Just as you finished, there was a ho. It was great. Almost there. So what plans have you guys got for the future? Got any?
Well, we've got, as you know, we run Kelly Weekends in Dumfries.
Oh, yes.
Just to keep the music going, basically. And we have a fantastic weekend. We have top bands. We've had all the best bands, you know, Stephen Carcary, Nicola McLaren. We had Scott Band last October. Yeah. We have musicians in-house. We have Dermot Lyons from County Cork, Tipperary, Cork. Yeah. And it's a full-on weekend just to keep the music going. Yeah. So our next one is in October, and we haven't booked any bands yet. So
if you ever need a Shetland one, remember, give us a shout. Something would be good.
Well, if you're willing to come, in fact, we have somebody coming down to the next one from Shetland. I don't know whether he plays. Alan Donaldson, he's booked in.
Oh yes, I know who you mean.
Does he play?
No, I don't think so. But more a dancer, I would say.
He dances and drinks.
What we do what we do as well, Peter, which we're quite proud of, is that on a Saturday and Sunday lunchtime we have what we call a wee play around, and people that maybe, have an accordion, maybe haven't played out.
Right.
Sit in a circle, we play. Now we have quite a few of them now playing at clubs, and it gives them a bit of confidence. And
absolutely.
they all come on tremendously, but that's a little part of the weekend, as well as the big bands. So it's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Brilliant. Well, listen, guys, I can't believe we're nearly through an hour here already. And all I can say is thank you so much for coming on and giving up about your Sunday night to come on and entertain the folk all over the place. And remember, folks, if you would like the Bonnicord CDs, jump on to Facebook there, or there's Robin's email. If you email him, I'm sure he'll sort that out for you.
It was a lovely surprise for you to get in touch with us, Peter, that we've been doing this for the last, 45, 50 years, and it's great to share our experiences with you, especially our times with Dermot O'Brien. That was the highlight of both of our enjoyment, being in his company and going to all the concerts and seeing a genius at work.
Doing all his dates.
Sadly missed.
Yeah.
I will never forget, but when I was about 9 years old, I got to support them in Les Mahigo Hall for the accordion club, and I got to go on and do 3 sets as a wee 9-year-old or something like that. No, I must have been a bit older. I must have been 13 actually, because I didn't take the box up until I was 11. But no, but I got to go on in that show, so that was that. So, but it was great fun, and as you say, absolutely amazing musician.
Well, I was able to do all these dates for a lot of years, in Scotland. So, to know the managers.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much. You take care down there and don't get blown away.
Thank you both.
And watch the dog doesn't get blown away. Watch the dogs on a lead or something.
No, he wouldn't get blown away. Look at him.
He's a muckle lump.
Right, see you guys. Thanks very much. Thank you. Take care.
Fantastic.
Really great folk. And it's magic to see folk that have been doing it all their life and quite happy, still playing away, still on a tune.
Yes.
And really
that's what I was going to mention.
Go on.
I had a birthday shout out to do.
Go on. Who's?
A very happy birthday to Dick Hamilton.
Oh, gosh, I've not seen Dick for a wee while, actually.
He says he's been struggling a bit with the tiredness with his arthritis, but he's doing okay.
That's good.
So,
Listen, I think we'll run the wee video for Roscoe tonight, the Pitlochry one. Give this a quick thing. If you would like to earn £500, folks, have a wee watch at this, and then after that we'll bring on our second guest. Really looking forward to bringing Alan Reid on. Here's if you fancy winning £500 for a 4-part pipe march. Doesn't have to be a march, does it? Can be anything. A 4-part pipe tune. 4-part pipe tune. Here he is. Here's Roscoe.
Hello and welcome to Pitlochry. Next year in 2022, Pitlochry Highland Games will celebrate its 170th anniversary. And to help mark this occasion, we are going to run a piping composition competition. This competition will be for 4 parts of any time signature and open to any musician who can play and write pipe music.
Cool. There you go. So if you like 500 quid in your back pocket, all you have to do is come up with it. I never noticed this before, but did you notice how concentrated Ross there was when he had to say piping composition competition?
Yes. And I said to him before, it should have been a pipe tune competition. Easier to say.
That's one you wouldn't. Like, I'm sure there's certain things you try to avoid in the writing stuff, and that would be one of the lines I would avoid. Anyway, listen. So looking forward to this man coming on next. I've admired his music and stagecraft for many years. So can we bring on from Torrance, just north of Glasgow? It's Alan Reid. Hello, Alan.
Good evening, gentlemen. Pleasure to
be here. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm very well. In fact, Davey, I passed your place this weekend. We had a wee weekend up in Arbroath.
All right, good.
We had the joys of driving around Dundee.
Yeah. It's a giant roundabout.
It's a nice place to pass.
Indeed. And it was the weather was absolutely glorious on Friday. Sorry, on Saturday. We went up on Friday expecting heavy snow all the way from Glasgow up to Arbroath, but nary a drop fell.
There you go. Well, as I said earlier, I can't believe it up here in Shetland. We're getting this spell of not too bad weather and everywhere else. But we are lucky though, because there's no trees up here. You see, that's what causes so much damage down south. Is the trees coming down and things.
All right, I thought that was Orkney that had no trees. Are you the same?
No. Yeah, we've got very many.
So
to be fair,
yeah.
I was going to say, to be fair, there's not a lot of trees down south neither.
Not anymore. No. I always thought if you're in a place where there's no trees, Orkney and Shetland, what do you do when you hang out the washing? Because it could end up in Norway.
Frequently does. And it's also a very frustrating place for a dog to live because there's nothing to lift your leg on at all. There's not a tree to be seen. Alan, it's wonderful you could come on and join us tonight. And it's just to kind of catch up right through and seeing what you're up to and what you've been doing lately and how it has started for you, because obviously the Battlefield Band was a huge part of your life as a musician, on the road, as a composer, all the bits and pieces that goes with it. So where did, can I take you back one step before that, one step before the Battlefield Band? What was your interest in folk music, etc.? How did you grow into that? Were you into it as a youngster, or?
No, I wouldn't say so. When I was a boy, which our youngest daughter says is, when dinosaurs ruled the earth. Everybody was either listening to the same radio programs or watching the same television programs right through the UK. So I was brought up with a mixture of all the music that you get on the radio. So when I was a teenager, it was when we had the Beatles and the kind of beat group revolution in the early '60s, and I thought I'd like to be in a pop group, playing keyboards, because I'd been taught the piano when I was 7 years of age. And it wasn't until I went to Strathclyde University and met up with Brian McNeill, who had started a group which was called Battlefield Band, and I ended up joining them, and we played anything that we liked that you could do acoustically, which included folk music, but we played country music, we played Irish songs, we even played a bluegrass, and it was through a series of years of evolution that we decided eventually, why don't we just become a Scottish folk group?
Yeah, well, that's so interesting. And so the band is a university band, then, really, that's what you met to begin with, then.
That's right, and we practiced, I think, for nearly a year before we actually played in public.
Okay.
And some of our first gigs were in Glasgow pubs, which was a hard school of education for us, because playing in a pub, you were essentially background music. So, so what we had to do was to get the audience's attention by telling jokes or funny stories, and then playing a song or some tunes. So that gave us, how shall I say, an identity whereby we did a lot of chat. And that was a bit of a novelty when we actually stepped inside a folk club, because we were shocked by the silence of the audience, and we thought, geez, well, they're listening to us.
Help!
We better get this tune right.
Well, of course, Billy Connolly mentioned that a lot, and the boys that played with Billy Connolly when they were in the Humble Bums and that, they're maybe one of the best folk musicians in the world, but they were great at telling stories, and they could go for it. Yeah. So you can see where it's coming from with that. So we're going to have a wee listen to a Battlefield Band track just now. This is 1981. And I think it's in Philadelphia, so obviously you'd started doing the touring big time by this point. But we can speak about that. We can have a wee listen to the track and then have a chat about how you progressed from the Glasgow pubs, as it were, up to onto a concert circuit kind of style thing, and see there's maybe a few interesting tales in there somewhere along the line. There's always some interesting venues to play, isn't there? So here is the original Battlefield Band here, and don't worry, folks, if you hear the quality just a wee bit at the beginning, it's a very, very old recording, but you want to hear it because the playing's awesome.
Here we go.
Oh, great. There's some energy going there, isn't there? I mean, it's really jumping. It's just jumping.
Well, it had to be. They had a very strict regime there in that festival. You had 20 minutes to perform on the main stage, 20 minutes exactly. And that included getting all the gear on stage. Oh. So I would have one of the stage hands helping me lift the 3 keyboards onto the stage, plug it in, switch on, and then hope that you could hear yourself and everybody else in the band. So I ended up playing 100 miles an hour. And, you know, before you knew it, you'd done 3 numbers or maybe 4 numbers, and it was, right, that's it, lads, you're off now. So it was great for a guy that was just playing the guitar and singing, but for a band with pipes, guitar, and 3 keyboards, it was...
Going back to the days when you said then you would play the smaller venues like the pubs and that, were you performing your own stuff by that point in time, or did you find you had to kind of go with mainstream material for the pubs and things?
Well, I would say that when we started, we played things that we liked, you know. So in the pubs, that was hard graft because people wanted to hear country music usually in pubs, and it wasn't until we went into folk clubs and, as I say, found a listening audience who also gave us feedback and, you know, encouraged. We then decided, eventually the penny dropped and we thought, yeah, we should stick to folk music. And I remember we went down to Marsden, just outside Newcastle, and we did a wee floor spot. You know, in the folk clubs you would do a floor spot, 2 or 3 numbers, and if you made a good impression you would get a booking out of it. And I remember one guy saying to us, why are you singing English folk songs? Because we included a couple in our set. You should stick to the Scottish stuff. Oh, he's got a point, that guy. So being a Scottish folk group rather than having a master plan by thinking, right, we're going to be a Scottish folk group, and you know that's what we're going to do. So it was. Even although we were at university and were supposedly intelligent, that penny took a long while to drop.
In early days then, because I think you probably safe to say you were one of the pioneers, Murray, bringing keyboards into the folk band scene, especially electronic stuff by the time we got to that point.
Yeah.
So the early days, what were you playing then? Did you because you also play guitar and all that as well, obviously, but did you take the box about the accordion or anything like that with you?
Yeah, I played a wee bit of accordion, but just the right hand. So I was kidding on really, and I had an old pedal organ,
right.
Which gave us a very distinctive sound. In fact, it helped us get an identity because I would use it almost like a pipe drone on the left hand. So, and you know, we would be playing pipe music on it in the band, in our repertoire. So with that pedal organ, it gave it a very distinctive sound to the band. And then
something sounds right about that as well, doesn't it? Because you think of Scotland and the coast, West Coast, etc., and even up here in Shetland and Orkney, many houses had a pedal organ.
Well, I discovered that a lot of them were imported from America in the early part of the last century for folk that couldn't afford a piano because they were a lot cheaper. So they were, you know, very popular, and there were also pieces of furniture.
Well, that's right. They're bonny to look at, some of them.
Well, we'd have a mirror and you know, 2 shelves for your Wally Dugs. Either side.
Is that what they would call an occasional table? Occasionally it's a table, occasionally it's a piano.
No, it would be something that you would throw off. You know, if you were a good working class family and you wanted a bit of music, and, you know, maybe entertain folk at New Year or whatever. You know, the family sing song, and it took up. Well, it wouldn't take up less space than a piano, but it was an alternative.
And did you use big pipes in the band right at the beginning? Was there?
No. That came 1979 when Duncan McGilvery joined the band, which was a very brave thing for him to do, actually, because the piping fraternity, most of them turned their noses up about pipers playing with any other instruments.
It was kind of taboo then, wasn't it? Yeah. So
in that sense, we were breaking new ground.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. So it's quite interesting because progressively you were progressing the whole time with instruments you were using, and the material, I'm sure, progressed along with that because you were creating new sounds. So you had this dynamic to come up with new lines, to come up with new songs that you knew could fit round about that big sound that you were making.
Yeah, and the electronic keyboards suddenly became affordable.
Aye.
They began to be mass produced, and also at that time, around about the time of that video you just played, Brian McNeil came up with a song that he'd written, much to the band's surprise, and that was a song about his native town of Falkirk, a song called Lads of the Fair, and that was very well received by the folk fraternity, and Brian was off and running as far as songwriting was concerned.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm just as intelligent as him. So
we can do that.
I could have a go at writing songs as well. So it took me several efforts before the band accepted one of my songs, but once I started and got that confidence and got better at it, because it's just like playing an instrument or doing anything, the more you practice at it, the better you get at it. So,
well, here is a song.
Sorry?
Here is a song, The Road of Tears.
Yeah.
Tell us a wee bit about that one.
Gosh, that was a song that we did for an album, and I tried to link the Highland clearances with the Irish famine, and then brought the song more up to date. It was round about the beginning of the Iraq War, so for us and for me in particular, it was unusually quite a political song. And strangely enough, about a year after we recorded it, I came upon a verse that I'd written for it that I'd completely forgotten about.
Okay.
When I've been playing it ever since then, I've included that extra verse, and it makes more of a sort of time continuum in the song. But
and it's a big exclusive for whatever audience happens to be there that night. Here is the extra verse that we missed out.
No extra charge.
Exactly. You should.
Tips accepted.
Here, let's have a listen to Road of Tears. It's lovely.
They came at dawn from out the darkness, swords and torches in their hands. They said it was the chieftain's orders, clear the hillsides and the glens. No more we'd smell the broom and the heather, share the bannock with our kin, be laid to rest beside our fathers. It almost broke our hearts and minds to board the ship of tears. To board the ship of tears. We crossed the sea to flee the hunger, wasted rags of skin and bone. The fields we left were black and barren, a ravaged land no longer home. The coffin ships were filled with mourning. We'd one last look back to the land. The quiet men, the women keening. It almost broke our hearts and minds to leave the fields of tears. To leave the fields of tears. They came in floods and covered wagons, drove across our ancient lands. They set to scorn our elders' wisdom, take the path their Lord commands. They stole our hills, they stole our rivers, the Mother Earth with whom we're joined. They led us from our spirit fathers. It almost broke our hearts and minds to walk the trail of tears. To walk this trail of tears. They came in hordes across the desert, storms of dust that sear the skin. They said they'd come for our oppressor, they would make a meal of him. They said that we would earn our freedom and come to see their ways right. But still we weep and we are bleeding. They have not won our hearts and minds. We're on the road of tears. We're on the road of tears. It never ends. The road of tears. The road of tears.
Yes, fantastic, Alan, fantastic. And then from, see, in the 90s, you were really the principal writer of songs for the Battlefield Band, weren't you? It was yourself, really, that was writing most of the songs. You also had a songbook out, didn't you? Well, it says songbook. Have you got a couple of songbooks out?
I've got one out, which came out around about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I started writing another one,
right.
And I've got the first draft finished, but I need someone with better music theory than I. Oh, Peter! Davey's pointing to Peter.
Between both of us, get in touch, we'll rumble something.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a bit of work. I've done several ones with the left hand of the piano. And I've put guitar chords in as well, but I need someone to go over it just to correct, because I know there'll be wee mistakes in it.
Is the first one, the first book, still available then?
Oh yeah.
And people can get that. People can get that for your website, can they?
You took the words out of my mouth, Peter.
There you go. Brilliant. So I mean, you've got albums on there as well and things. But if you want the songbooks, there you go, folks. I'm sure Alan would be absolutely delighted to put one in an envelope and send it to you. As long as you pay for it, of course.
All right, that would help.
That's Martyrs, Rogues and Worthies. Is that right?
That's it. Martyrs, Rogues and Worthies.
So back to just the jump between the smaller gigs to the big gigs, because when I knew you were playing big gigs by that time. You were playing concerts all the time, and of course you had a relationship with Robin Morton as well, didn't you, Robin? And did Robin manage the band for many years? Or?
Yes, he did. And we were playing in folk clubs, and Robin earlier in the first half was talking about getting bookings when before internet and whatnot. So one of us in the band would take on the responsibility of getting the gigs, which meant that after we were doing a wee tour, we go home and see who had phoned up. And then maybe a year later, whoever it was, we would say, I'm fed up doing this, and you guys are complaining about it all the time, so somebody else take it over. So after a while, we realized we need a manager, somebody that's in one place all the time, and also to direct us. So Robin took us on, and he steered us from being a band that goes in folk clubs to a band that plays concerts. And he also, with his contacts, got us into America. And that Philadelphia Folk Festival that we played at, I think that was probably the first time. That was a great opportunity, just to get other gigs in other parts of the US. It was like a shop window for us.
So that's how that kind of came about then, was kind of dipping your toes in it, getting out there, making yourself known, and then hopefully the gigs go on after that.
Absolutely. We had done a support tour with Mike Oldfield in Germany. And we were playing to thousands every night, and we would do our 20 minutes, and invariably we just brought the house down, because that German audience, that particular German,
love that.
I'd never heard anything like that at all. And at the end of that tour, we went for our first tour over to America, and we played a wee club in Connecticut, and I think there was maybe 10 in the audience, and 3 of them were my relatives.
All the way to Connecticut to see your relatives.
So so that was a bit of a reality check.
But it had to be done, didn't it? It had to be done to build up that audience, or it wouldn't have worked.
I would say that it took us maybe at least 2 tours before we actually made any money. Out of it. So it was,
which is quite hard going, and something that a lot of bands nowadays probably wouldn't be prepared to do. They wouldn't want to put that bit of hard graft and no making any money. They seem to think they should.
Yeah, that's true. But also these days, it's very difficult to go to the US, because apart from the cost of getting there, you've got to get visas, and those are costly, and you need to hire someone in the US, and you need various people either in the US or the UK to write you up, to give you a good.
It's very difficult, I would say, for any young performer now coming into the game at all, because so many of the markets have disappeared, like the American market, the Europe market. It's not as good at all as it was at all now. They're stuck between, after Brexit. It's caused a lot of problems.
Oh yeah. Don't ask me about Brexit there, but it is very, very difficult, and most of the work that I do is overseas. So between the visas, you don't need visas for a lot of European countries, but you might need a carnet, which is a document you get to allow you to bring your instruments in. And you have to show them at the borders. Between that and COVID, it's just been and Brexit, it's been a disaster.
We have got a wee track here that you sent me of yourself sitting playing piano, And you said you'd mind to tell, you'd be able to tell us what it was about, because I couldn't mind what it was called.
This was a wee club I did in New Zealand, 2018, I think it was. And it's a tune that was written by a Gaelic harper in the 18th century. It's called Nach Tua Mochas, if my Gaelic's reasonable enough. And that translates as Hard Is My Fate. And it's a story about Bonnie Prince Charlie at the end of Culloden being whisked off the field, put in a safe house, and he's upstairs in this house and he hears a sound through the next door and he thinks, oh, I'm going to get caught, I'm going to get caught. And when he opens the door, there's two wee lassies playing on the floor, and he reputedly said, hard is my fate when the innocent prattle of little girls frightens me so. So that's the story behind it.
Why not? Why not? Fantastic. Great stuff. Ladies and gentlemen out there, we're having a great night tonight. Numbers are huge, but keep sharing. And if you've got any comments or that you want to send in, please send them in, because we love to know where you are and we love to see what you're up to. And that you're keeping all right. There we go. So, Alan, you played many, many years with the Battlefield. I think you nearly recorded about 30 albums with them, something like that, was it?
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That's absolutely amazing. There ain't many folk bands managed to do 30 albums, I don't think.
Well, Robin Morton worked as hard.
But I suppose if you were preparing to go on a tour, new tours every year, you need the new album, don't you?
Well, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was the argument. So it would mean that we were basically changing our repertoire every 18 months or so.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I mean, you obviously had different band members joined and left and came back again and all that over the years, all for various different reasons, you know. So every time you get a new band member in, that probably let you experiment a wee bit more with a different sound coming along again, kind of stuff. I think somebody playing something slightly different.
Yeah, well, basically we had the same sound, you know, for decades, Peter. But you know, someone would come in and we would play to their strengths, you know, whatever they brought in. So,
absolutely.
But in essence, we had a quite an identifiable sound.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, everyone. So the point came though for yourself when you decided to stand back for the Battlefield. What year did you stand back then?
That was 2010. Now,
was it really that long ago? Goodness me. Oof.
I know. It's scary. And 10 years before, I'd actually started a duo with a really good guitar player called Rob Van Santi, fine singer as well. And part of the reason for that was precisely because we had in the band, we kept bringing out new albums. There were songs that I had either sung or written where I thought, it's a shame I can't sing these anymore. So I used the duo as a platform to play some of my old songs and also write some new songs. But when it came to like 2008, 2009, I began to feel a kind of itchy feet and thinking, maybe it's time I left the band. This was accelerated, I have to say. I was at least 20 years older than the next guy in the band, and we were doing a radio interview somewhere in America, and this guy said to me, "Are these your sons?"
Oh, thanks, a bundle.
I don't know if he was taking the Michael or whatever. And you know, and then I thought about it. None of these guys look at each other. What's this guy trying to say about who the mothers are? You know. So for those reasons and several others, I thought, okay, let's go. Let's leave the band. I'm no spring chicken anymore. Let's see how it gets on when I'm, you know, playing in a duo, playing to smaller audiences, and let's see if I still enjoy it. So that was my rationale.
And you did that for a couple of years, so you done it 2 or 3 years at least to the duo, didn't you?
Oh, we only stopped in 2019.
Aye, so you done it right through. So, and what kind of gigs then? Were you playing folk clubs again or smaller venues, you said again?
Basically smaller venues, but also the odd festival. But it was much more intimate than the kind of places, the venues that the band was playing in. But it also kind of gave me control about, you know, how much work I could do and where to go. But I was still going all over the world, you know.
Yeah, it would seem so. Yeah, it would seem you're still jet setting a bit. What was I going to say? So in that time, though, you brought out some solo albums as well, didn't you? You brought out.
I did. The duo did 5 albums. I had already had a solo album. Around about 2000. It's hard to remember all this stuff now, Peter.
That's all right. But if anybody wants these, Davy's just put your website up. Folk, if you'd like to go in and look at Alan's merchandise that he's got, the music book and CDs, etc.,
Absolutely.
Jump in there and have a look, because there's a lot of good stuff. And the Battlefield Band stuff, you probably can still get most of it off of Tempo Records, I think.
That's correct, yeah.
And are most of the Battlefield Band albums still available then? Are most of them still there, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. That's even more amazing when you think of that, isn't it?
There's a couple that we made in France that I can't remember where you get them, but you don't get them from Temple. A couple of the first and third albums, so they're collector's pieces.
Gee, look, yeah, that's amazing. Now, tell me, Jenny O' the Braes. We're going to have a wee listen to Jenny O' the Braes.
Okay.
What's the story behind this one?
Oh, sorry. It's a story I just made up about
Excellent.
A hermit that lives outside this wee village, and everybody knows her. And she's a
brilliant. And they're going to even know her even better after we've listened to it.
So this is your same sort of idea as Alan Rugby then.
Hi, thanks, David. I'll take that.
Take it, yeah.
Here we go.
The people cried her Jenny O' the Braes, and she was wheel ken tears off, her gangling body hanging out her claes, made her stone out when she strode down the brae. 12 days a week she'd come visiting the town, she'd tag the braes, rain, hail or shine. Her silver hair would be fleeing in the wind, and folk thought her a creature mad or wild. When ice and snow gripped all the country, you'd see the smoke rise frae her chimney. The world ablow could then rest easy for Jenny O' the Braes. The wind blew always round the muir, it rattled on her cottage windy. She sat inside close by the fire, she was content in her own company. And if you asked her if she was well, she'd say, "I'm grand, sir, how's yourself?" And then she'd trudge on up the hill, Jenny O' the Braes. She wasn't bothered her want o' gear, she lived on cheese bread, oats and barley. She wasn't fashed wi' trouble or care, she'd spurn the knock that broke the helping hand. Sometimes she'd wander o'er the muir, collecting heather, plants and flowers, and singing softly to herself, Jenny O' the Braes. Last year she'd bided, made it hame, her cottage door was seldom opened, and when the spring flowers come to bloom, she hardly ever ventured in the brae. One day when someone was out walking, they saw her chimney wasn't smoking, they found her sitting in the kitchen, a smile upon her face, Jenny O' the Braes, Jenny O' the Braes, Jenny O' the Braes, Jenny O' the Braes.
Great stuff. I'm interested to ask. Sorry, Davey, on you go.
I was going to say I'm going to stick with my my Alan Rigby reference.
Right,
I could hear the I could hear the Beatles singing that.
You can hear the Beatles singing that one.
I could, yeah, because they went through a stage where they were singing songs that was mainly story based.
Oh yeah.
And that's a prime example of a song that's story based, which, as with most Scottish folk or any folk. Anyway, Peter, as you were.
Well,
yeah, I used to make the common mistake.
Sorry, I wish
yeah. I've said a couple of times. I was terrible as a musician for the first few years. I playing in bands with singers and never actually listening to the words. Strange thing. And I think, speaking to other musicians, I've heard musicians saying they do that sometimes. They just play the tune and things, or play the accompaniment, but they're not actually listening to the story. And the story is, once you learn to listen to the story, the blooming songs are 100 times more enjoyable to listen to, you know. Yeah. And I was interested in listening to yourself singing in Scots, really, using a lot of Scots words. Did you find it easier to write using Scots words? Or?
I find that I write in standard English, but I'll also write in Scots as well. And I think it actually gives you an advantage over, let's say, English or even Irish people, because you can have rhymes and sounds in Scots that don't work if you translate them into English.
Yeah.
So it gives you greater scope, which I think is wonderful. And you know, I don't have a lot of Scots in my vocabulary, but I like to keep it alive because I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people really enjoy it, especially overseas, and that they love to hear us keeping a diaspora going for some reason. It's the way it happens, isn't it? And it's just you've been a few places and a few other places all over the world, though, with your career now. Is there any memorable places you got to play over the years that you?
Gosh, there's a few. If I start thinking about it, you know, I remember we've been to Alaska several times. Wow. And I remember in Anchorage, one particular tour, we played in the Opera House. This is Battlefield Band I'm talking about. And it was a sellout, and it held, I think, 1,900 people. Wow. So they booked us for the next night as well, because the tickets had been going so well, and it wasn't quite full, but it was 9/10 full the second night. So that was a big thrill.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 nights in Anchorage.
And a couple of other places we played in Alaska as well. Wow. I played in every state in the US bar 2, and that's North and South Dakota. So really? Before COVID, I was trying to see if I could get the whole set.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. How did the instruments behave and things like up in Alaska and that, like pipes and things? Did they behave themselves? Or did they?
Pipes didn't like extremes in temperature. They also really dislike altitude. So, so if we were playing, I think, where would it be in Colorado? You know, Denver's already a mile high, and it's low down as far as Colorado is concerned. So if you were up to 7,000 or 8,000 feet, then you know it'd be really hard for the piper.
So see, when you went on these tours to like America, I mean, how many nights would you do in a tour? Like a month's worth, or?
Well, at the peak, I would say that we would do like 6-week tours, and we do an awful lot of traveling. You know,
I was going to say that's huge, isn't it?
We would do a mixture of flights and renting cars, and we had this procedure when we flew into an airport, and let's say the gig was 2 hours away, whatever. I would go off on a shuttle bus to rent a vehicle while the other guys collected the baggage. And very often it would be like 2 or 3 miles away. And when I got off the bus to the rental place, I might be standing in a queue for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So then I would drive back to the airport, pick up the guys, and then we would drive to the gig. So it would be maybe an hour or more after we'd actually touched down when we actually left the airport. And then when we were going on to the next leg, we had to do all that in reverse. So we would have to turn up maybe 2 hours before our flight. I'd drop the gear off. I would go back to the rental place, then get the shuttle bus back to the airport and check in. So
what you're saying is that you had probably one of the heaviest load of instruments and you didn't carry them yourself?
No, you know, in the old days, we could carry, 10, 12 instruments, lots of albums.
Yeah, of course.
Albums. So lots of boxes. So we might have 15, 20 items of baggage to check in. And the bane of my life would be that, especially at the beginning of a tour, would be turn up at the first gig, the first drop off in the US, and find that my keyboards were still in Schiphol in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And we might be playing the next night and then taking a flight somewhere else. So I would be crapping myself that my keyboard would turn up before we had to fly away, and maybe ring up the gig and say, my keyboard hasn't turned up. Can you find me one? So they find me a keyboard, which would be a completely different make from what we would do, different buttons on. How do you switch this on? And where's the piano? And where's the organ? And, and that might be 20 minutes before the gig. So
because I was going to ask, that amount of travel and did stuff get lost, which you said it did, and then also damaged. It was quite easy to get your gear damaged. That was even worse sometimes, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would say we were relatively lucky as far as that is concerned. I don't remember, an instrument being ruined, and also the piper and the guitar player and the fiddle player, they could carry them onto the plane.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
It was only me with keyboards that had to go in the hold.
I'm in the same boat as you with the accordion. It was always chucked into the hold and usually royally thrown out the other end when you saw them unloading the plane somewhere.
Yeah, well, I ended up getting a wee accordion that I could carry on. So I'm a student accordion.
Yeah, I've got a wee one here now, which is far better for that kind of stuff. It's great. So, listen, it's been fantastic speaking to you, Alan. We're going to have another wee track before we say cheerio. We've got Hector and Bessie. Have you got anything to tell us about Hector and Bessie?
Well, it's another story that I made up.
It's another Beatles one.
It's about a ploughing match between two horses, Hector and Bessie and the other team. And again, this is one where I tried to put in a bit of Scots and make it sound really, really coothy.
Yeah, see that, folks. If we hadn't asked that, you would never have known this was about horses right to begin with. So there you go.
When I was a towsy, freckled lad, we'd visit Uncle John with his muckle lugs and ruddy cheeks on his farm at Richie's Lawn. Each year he got his finest duds and his bonny Clydesdale pair, with his bonnet hanging jaunty. They would set out for the fair. They would set out for the fair. Each horse was braw and handsome, they had sinews well defined, each collar decorated, and the colours they were fine. Hector was the chestnut, Bessie was the roan, the baith of them majestic stepping out fair. ridges long, stepping out the ridges long. Hector stood at 16 hands, his neck was arched and long, his ribs were bent like barrel hoops, his back was straight and strong. Bessie, she was smaller, her legs were stout and straight, she could labour all the hours God made, and by her side her mate, by her side her mate. My uncle had a neighbour, and they met up at the fair, and he wagered 15 guineas he could best Carmichael's pair. So they harnessed up the horses, each pair tethered to a blue, and when they got the nod to start, twa pairs began to poo, twa pairs began to poo. Just then the heavens opened, and the rain came pouring through. My Uncle John got drookit, and the field was turned to glue. But soft he spoke in Bessie's ear, and gamely she ploughed on, and we hectored by her every step. The match was easy won, the match was easy won. Each time I see a Clydesdale new, I mind on my Uncle John. He came rolling home quite late that night, but his bonnet, it was gone. Though he was a rough and a ready man, and his working life was hard, he aye was had a gentle way with the horses in the field, with the horses in the field. We are stewards o' the oceans, we are tenants o' the land. We can use the power of sunlight, we can harness wave or wind. There's a wheen o' different answers for the problems that we face, but let's not forget the Clydesdale, he's the honest working horse. Each Hector and each Bessie, they have a part to play, and every humble horse should have his day. Hector and Bessie.
Ah, brilliant.
Fantastic.
Really good. I loved that wee chord progression at the end there as well. Just very nice.
Took me a while to get it right.
You don't want one of them at the end of a song, do you? Just when you get to the end and you say, I have to get this right now.
Yeah.
That's it. Alan, it's been utterly fantastic having you on.
It's been a pleasure for me.
So many nice comments coming in and folk enjoying the music and taking it forward. And where are you off to next? What's next on the calendar?
Well, as you can imagine, haven't been doing much the last couple of years. That one that you just played, that was one of the things I did on the internet. But I've got a show coming up in London at the beginning of April. And then as we get into early summer, I've got some club dates and a couple of festivals coming up as well. But I'm not looking too far ahead, Peter, because as I said earlier, most of my work is abroad, and I'm just a wee bit cagey of committing myself
just now.
Too far ahead for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's very difficult. But hopefully, here's fingers crossed, we'll get back into something before too long. It'd be nice to get out there and get you back abroad and doing what you do and what you enjoy and doing well.
Yeah, but I'm also hoping to play more at home.
Well, that's it. And do you know something that would be really, really nice for people, because you've been abroad so much and away playing and performing, they've not had the chance to hear you at home just as much as we could have.
Yeah,
so that would be nice as well.
Let people know I'm still around and
absolutely
and available.
Yeah. And remember, folks, if you want any Alan's CDs of that, jump onto his website. And remember, as I always say, don't panic. This is all recorded and you can watch it back in all these different formats, so you'll not need a pen right away. So anyway, Alan, listen, thank you so much. Thank you. And
thank you very much.
Stay safe out there, and you've still got time to go to the chip shop for a fish supper if you want.
No, I don't think so. No. Tons of fish in our broth. I want something different now.
Oh, yeah.
Alex, brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Good night.
Cheerio, guys. Thank you very much. Bye now.
Fantastic.
I love having these stars on that are just absolute gentlemen.
Well, exactly.
Great, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. For me, that was really amazing, because I used to watch them when I was wee. I was going to say wee. I've never been that wee, but you get what I mean.
When you were younger.
When I was less, yes.
When
there was less of me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for that tonight. It's been great to see an audience right through, big audiences still building away. And next week, we failed to disappoint.
You do it.
We absolutely failed to disappoint, so we do. I am so looking forward to next week, and I Ken Davey is too. We've got the one and only legend of a piper, Willie McCallum, coming on. Willie's won about everything that's moving. 3 cheers for that one. That's good. And we've also got Adam Sutherland, the fiddle player, coming on. Adam's just top of the tree just now and one of the best composers going. So I'm really, really looking forward to next week's show.
Double headliner.
Adam Sutherland and Willie McCallum. So if you're about next Sunday night at 8 o'clock for Tartan Tunes, don't miss it. It's going to be a cracker. Thank you so much tonight to the Bonicords. That's Robin Deryn Waitt. And thanks very much to Mr. Alan Reid there at the end. That was brilliant. And thanks to you, Davey, for being about as well. And
thanks to you for not having COVID anymore.
Well, I didn't win it again for a while anyway, that's for sure.
Well, that's it. That is it.
They can keep their strain somewhere else. Right. I think that's everything.
Enjoy your work tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I always enjoy my work. I love teaching the kids to play the accordion. It's great.
You're a banjo teacher.
I'm not a banjo teacher. Right. See you later.
See you later.
Cheers, mate. Bye, folks.